Module 6 is all about making good decisions, and one of the tools that can be used in the decision making process is a decision making matrix. And it's in the lesson that's in Module 6, known as Evaluating Options. If you come down here to the 8th slide, there is an example of what a decision making matrix looks like. Um, but I also have a video where I explain it, where I take you through step by step. So I hope it helps. Okay, I'm going to help you with the part of the assignment that is the decision-making grid. This is something that you do mentally all the time when you make a decision. The only difference is we're going to put it on paper. I'll explain how it works. This is something that you'll see again in economics class. We used it frequently whenever we looked at weighing the pros and cons of decisions. So what I've done is I'm using a very simple decision that I'm making so that I can illustrate this for you. So I tried to keep things as simple as possible. What I've done is I'm looking at like my problem that I need to solve is where am I going to go for lunch? So there's a lot of factors that you consider whenever you're making that decision. So I'm going to consider how much it's going to cost. I'm going to look at how much time is involved. I have 30 minutes that I have for lunch, so I don't want anything that's going to take longer than 30 minutes. And then I'm going to consider whether or not it's a healthy meal, it's a healthy choice. And so my criteria that I'm considering when I'm looking at the decision is over here in this left-hand column. Now my options are going to go across the top. Okay, so my choices are I can go to the Career Center across the street from the high school and have lunch there because they have a food and hospitality program. I can probably venture into town and go grab some fast food like Arby's, Wendy's, or McDonald's. Or my third option is that I can go home for lunch because I live close enough to the school. So those are my options. You're going to put those across the top. And then here, you're going to weight your criteria. And what I mean by that is you're going to, when you're looking at the decision, while all of those things are things you're going to consider, they're not all equal. Sometimes there's one thing that's more important than the others. For example, me, time-wise, that's important. I only have 30 minutes for lunch. I can't take any more time than that. So for me, that's a very important factor. And because it's a very important factor, I'm going to give that a heavy weight. I'm going to give that the weight of a 3. In terms of whether or not it's healthy, it's a factor. It's not the most important factor, but it's not the least important factor. And while I'm not saying cost does not matter, in relation to the other two criteria, it's the least important. Okay. Now, it's possible that if I had a fourth criterion or a fifth criterion, that I would have a weight that was a 1, 2, or 3, because there are sometimes options, or excuse me, criteria that is equal. But in this instance, I'm okay having just these 3 criteria, and you can be fine with that too. All right. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take the weights and I'm going to go across. So everything in the cost row is going to have a weight of a 1. Everything in the time row is going to have a weight of 3. And in the health row, everything's going to have a weight of 2. So I'm going to enter those figures in. Now this is where you're actually going to like look at your options and kind of rank them. You're going to evaluate them based upon the criteria. Okay. 3 means that it's good. 1 means that it's not good. Okay. So how good is it at satisfying the criteria? Is it going to be something that's good at satisfying it, which would be a 3, or it's not good, it would be a 1. Of course, if it's like so-so, you can give that a score of 2. So here's what I'm going to do. For the Career Center, in terms of cost, it's not terribly expensive. I have some control over how much I pay based upon what I order. So I'm going to give that a 2. And in terms of time, well, because it's students that are both preparing the food and serving the food, they do their best, but I don't know that I could guarantee getting in and out of the career center in 30 minutes because I have to walk across the street. And then I have to wait to be let into the building because of security. So that's going to take some time. I don't know that it would necessarily be the most timely of my choices. And then in terms of whether or not it's healthy, it could. It depends on what I order and what the menu options are and how it's prepared. There are some times that there are things that they have entrees like salads, but there are other times where you can have like a burger there, and while it's delicious, it can be a real gut bomb. So I'm going to give that a two. Okay, for fast food now, in terms of the cost, I don't know about you, but lately, I think that fast food, it can be reasonable if you get things from the value menu. Otherwise, if you get a meal, it's getting pretty expensive. Um, in terms of time, that depends as well. It's possible that I could use an app and get like curbside service or grab it through the drive-through. So I'm going to give that a 2. It's not the quickest, but it probably wouldn't be as long as the career center. And in terms of healthy, like honestly, um, I'm going to give this a 0. I don't think it's very healthy at all. Uh, I say this because, like, McDonald's, I looked for a salad on the app the other day because my kids wanted to go to McDonald's, and there wasn't one salad to be seen on the app, so I'm gonna give it a 0. Okay, I live close enough to the school that I could go home. In terms of cost, it's really great for cost. I've already paid that money, the food's already there. In terms of time, I have a lot of control over how much time I spend at home, so I could prepare things rather quickly. And in terms of, like, the food that's there, I know comparatively speaking, in terms of the fast food or the food at the career center, that the food I have in the house is healthier than that. I'm not saying it's the most healthy. I'm saying it's healthier when compared to these other choices. Okay. So now that I have essentially weighed my options, literally, I'm going to do some math. We teachers, whenever you do math and things like social studies or math and things like, a character ed class, we call this interdisciplinary and we just love it. So I'm going to do some multiplication. I'm going to take the weight that I assigned this criterion of cost, and I'm going to multiply it by the ranking I gave it for the actual option. So 1 times 2 is 2. I'm going to take 3 times 1 is 3, and 2 times 2 is 4. Pretty simple there. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing under fast food. 1 times 2 is 2, 3 times 2 is 6, 2 times 0 is 0. And then for home, 1 times 3 is 3, 3 times 3 is 9, and 2 times 3 is 6. And then once you have those answers, you're going to add them so that you get a total at the bottom. So 2 plus 3 is 5. When I add 4, I get 9. 2 plus 6 is 8. And then I have 3 plus 9, which is 12, plus 6, which is 18. And now that I have those figures, I'm going to look at them and I'm going to, based upon what I've done, this process, the option that has the highest total is the best option when you're making your decision. So in this instance, it should be that I go home for lunch, and that's because it has the highest score of 18. The last choice, my last resort, would be going for fast food, which is the score of 8. Okay, so hopefully you understand this a little bit better now that you've seen how a decision making matrix, that's a tongue twister, works. If you have any more questions or need any help, please don't hesitate to email me or call me because I'd be happy to help you out some more.